Alright, it is Monday. I don't know if it's the 10th or not. It's probably the 10th or the 9th. I don't know. I do know that this is 15.1. I did not do a Sunday blog. I stayed home all day. Didn't get a chance to really get out. In fact, this blog this morning will be about yesterday. Yesterday I was still going through it. Came to another self-realization about myself and how it relates to work and things like that in my personal life. Whenever issues did come up in my personal life, I would then turn around and ignore the issue, the real issue at hand, and then fill in all this void and emptiness with work. And then that would create a pretty... the work I would do out of it would be great because I would be all focused in on it, but it wouldn't create a nice work-life balance. And I realized that yesterday, and I realized this morning that I cannot go ahead and drown myself in work, that I need to really handle personal issues in my life up front. And that's difficult to do because, my personal issues don't necessarily just involve me and myself and I. It usually involves other people, and me having to discuss that with another person, leads to uncomfortable conversations. And I don't necessarily mind having uncomfortable conversations. I just don't like the uncomfortable reaction that you're going to get because you never know where the person's going to come from. I try not to come from a hostile place when I do have uncomfortable conversations with people. But I do know that when people usually tend to have personal discussions, it's one of the parties are usually on the defensive because the other party is usually the offended party. So one is automatically offended, the other one's automatically defensive, and I never want to come off as defensive or offended, but I do want them to know where I stand in certain aspects of it. So that's just one thing that I realized. Yesterday I spent the day somewhat frustrated. I was frustrated for a little bit, and then once I got to doing stuff, I realized that it really wasn't about me. It really had nothing to do with me whatsoever. That it is what it is, and I need to stop taking things so personal. And I think that in itself is an oxymoron, because I think when I'm at work, I live by the philosophy of don't take anything personal. Whatever critique, whatever criticism, whatever you got going on at work, good or bad, it's not meant to be personal. I usually tend to live like that at work, but as soon as it relates to my personal life, it's automatically about me. It's automatically personal. And I think that when someone does something, and it has, usually nothing to do with me, that I shouldn't take it personal. I shouldn't take their reactions or their actions as personal as I've been taking it. Regardless if we, share the same space or not. So that's something that I learned yesterday, is not to take actions personal. I need to have an identity outside. I need to have an identity with myself per se, and not look at other people's actions as personal, or not take them as personal as I've been taking it, or as I did take it yesterday. Because yesterday I was extremely upset and frustrated and offended, and then once I cooled off and took a shower, I realized that it really isn't about me. It's more or less them doing what they need to do for them, and I need to not take it as a detriment to my existence as a whole, and not take it so personal. So that's one thing I did learn yesterday. Again, a flood of emotions, but at the end of the day, I think I ended it. I was in a good space by the end of the day. There is some tension that I do, like I said, I do need to address and take it seriously. Just right now, it just feels like when one thing happens, everything does. AJ got sick last night, decided to throw up all over. Well, he threw up in the toilet, but he decided to get sick last night, and that usually never puts anyone in a good space, because then he's like, I just want to lay with Dad, and I'm like, you ain't laying with me because I don't want to get sick, for one, and two, you're not sleeping in the same bed as me. Like, no, you can sleep in your bed, or you can sleep wherever else. But I don't know. That's just me. That's just me, man. And it's like I find myself taking hard stances on things that don't need to be hard. That doesn't need a hard stance, but I take it anyway. And I feel like I do it to just prove a point instead of having an actual objective behind it. And I know that could be taken as hostile. I don't know if it's necessarily wrong that I did that, but I would rather be consistent in one thing. I don't know. It was just overall a weird day yesterday. But today's gonna be better. Today's gonna be better. It's already looking good at work. Getting ready to go to my my second location of the day, and then I gotta head back to corporate for another afternoon meeting, and then after that, I'll finish up a couple spreadsheets or PowerPoints actually, and then I should be done from there. So, but we'll see, man. We'll see how the rest of the day goes. I'm very fortunate. I'm feeling all right. Not much to complain about. Just like I said, yesterday made me come to a self-realization that I need to stop taking everything in my life so personal when it comes to my personal life, and really need to identify certain things with myself, about myself, so that way I don't end up hurting myself emotionally, figuratively speaking. Yeah, that's it, man. I'm definitely gonna blog later on today, probably at the very end of the day, just to catch, just to finish one off, just to finish it all off. Yeah, that was my days.